Okay. In today's session, I'm going to tell you everything that you need to know about the listening section of the IELTS exam. And I am just going to share my screen. Just let me know once the screen becomes visible. Can you all see what I'm sharing on the screen?
Yes, I can see it.
Okay, thank you, Abul. All right, let's start the session. Let me just start the slide. So, as it must be already known to everyone that the IELTS consists of 4 modules: the listening, speaking, writing, and reading. And every module has its own question type, and every module will follow certain pattern. So specifically today, we are going to talk about the listening section and what all can we do to ace the listening section. All right, so I think you can see the screen now. So let's start the session. Okay, let us start with a brief overview of the listening section. The listening section is divided into the four subdivisions, meaning it is divided into 4 sections or parts, and each part consists of 10 questions. So in total, you will have 40 questions to answer. Now, depending upon which mode are you're going for example, if you're going for pen and paper, the exam is going to stay for 30 minutes and then you'll get 10 minutes to answer, like transfer your answers on the answer sheet. However, if you go for computer based, you will not get any extra time. Simultaneously, you will have to type the answers on the computer. So that's the reason they don't give you any extra time. They give you like a minute or two. But for pen and paper, because you first write the answers roughly and then you transfer everything. So that's the reason they give you, or the examiner, or the setting is such that you will be given 10 minutes extra to transfer everything on the actual answer sheet. And apart from that, in the listening section, you will hear 4 kinds of different audios. It will differ in terms of intensity. It will differ in terms of difficulty level. Apart from that, there will be different kinds of accent. So let's say in the first part of the audio, you will have somebody talking to another person in Canadian accent. Chances are in the next part of the audio, you will have American accent. Or in the next part, you might have any other kind of Australian accent. So accents will change. And from the inception, that is from the first part, till you go to the last part, which is the 4th part or the 4th section, the difficulty is going to progress. It's going to increase with the subsequent parts, right? So that you need to know. And apart from that, you will not really have any control over the audio. So you will not be able to pause it. You will not be able to like press forward or stop the audio, or if you want to repeat it, all of this will not be under your control. What you could do is you will be able to check the answers for the answer sheet, right? So you will be able to basically just give me a second. So before the session starts, what you will be, what would be under control would be, you will be able to hear the audio. You will be able to see whether you can hear it or not. And if not, you can definitely speak to the examiner, and the examiner will like help you out. But apart from that, you will not really have any other control. So let's move forward. The next is each section, as I already told you, will have 10 sets of questions. And if you go for pen and paper, still you will have to complete everything within 30 minutes, but you will get 10 minutes of the buffer time where you will transfer everything on the answer sheet. However, if you go for computer based, this will not be the scenario. In the computer based, you will not really have any separate time to transfer the answers, and the only thing that would be given to you would be like last 2 to 3 minutes. In the last 2 to 3 minutes, you will be able to like see whatever you've written, proofread, but apart from that, no extra time. Now coming to the next one, there's this very prominent question that a lot of students ask: is getting 9 band scores in the listening section possible? The clear and very honest answer is yes, because in the listening section, you don't really have to do any extra work. Everything is in order. The first thing, like the first answer will come first, then you will get the answer for the second one. So everything follows a chain of order. Apart from that, you don't really have to find out the words to answer everything again. The audio will tell out the answers. Then the next one is you just have to write very basic, like at max 3 words. You just have to listen to the audio and come to a conclusion. It's unlike the writing section or the reading section where you actually have to put two and two together. In the writing section, you have to basically think what to include. You have to think of connectors. You have to think of, let's say, the grammatical aspects of everything. But in the listening section, you don't really have to do anything of that sorts. You just have to listen to the audio, and then you just have to give the answer as per the audio. So it's very convenient. What you just need to do is you have to make yourself familiar to different kinds of accents, and also you have to make sure that you understand the different pace of the audio, because the first section of the listening test will be tad bit slower as compared to the last one, and that's the reason why a lot of test takers, they find the last section to be particularly difficult. That's because the audio gains the maximum pace, and also you don't really get any bifurcations in the answer. So that's the reason it becomes difficult. However, if you keep on practicing, it will not be a very difficult thing to do. Okay. Now, coming to some essential tips that you can follow to crack the IELTS listening test. The first is, it's like, I think it's an expected answer. The first one is to practice regularly. See, it's important for you to know the format of the listening section. Let me break it down to you. The first section is going to be a conversation between two people. Now, it could be, let's say, a mother and a child talking to each other, or it could be two friends having a conversation, or it could be, let's say, a person wants to book a hotel room, and hence the person has called the receptionist, and they are having a verbal conversation. Now, here in the first part of the audio, it's not very difficult questions that you get. You get simple fill in the blanks kind of questions, or you will get like very simple completion type of questions. So the first part is very easy. And in the first part itself, the audio will tell you that firstly, you have to read from question 1 to 5, or 6 or 4. And then after the answers for the 5, 6 or 4, whatever it goes like, has been announced, then the audio again intercedes and says that now you have to read from question number 6 to 10. So you have a lot of time to make yourself familiar in with the questions, right? Now, what you need to do is, do not start reading the question when the audio begins, because that is the time you should only look for answers and not find the questions themselves. So what you have to do is, when the audio is going to assign you some time, initially they're going to give you a hell lot of instructions that you're going to hear a conversation between two people. You have to listen to it carefully, and you have to give the answers and out of that. So you should be aware of all of this beforehand, so that you don't really listen to the audio. Instead, you read the instructions first, and also familiarize yourself to the questions. See if there is any keywords that you can mark by keywords, like any nouns, any numbers, because the nouns and numbers will not really change, not in the audio, not in the question. It cannot be paraphrased. So if you know the keywords, it becomes very easy for you to like align yourself and give the answer appropriately. So the first thing is to practice regularly. Okay, I told you about the first part of the audio. It's going to be a conversation between two people. Coming to the next part, it is going to be a monologue. A monologue is a long speech delivered by one person. So, in the monologue, what happens is there's a lot of self correction. So, the audio will say something and will automatically correct itself. For example, there might be a speaker who said, okay, initially this conversation was supposed to happen on the 25th. Oh, I may be wrong. It was supposed to happen on 26th. So there will be a lot of self correction. So do not listen and mark the answer of the first thing that you hear. See if there is any intonation. See if there is any answer change, because in that case, the final answer will differ from the initial one. So the first thing, and the other thing that you have to do is make sure that you're listening very properly, because in the second part onwards, the answers, they keep on shifting. So they keep on changing the answers, and that's why you have to be vigilant. The next is improve your listening skills. Because the test can be daunting, you have to listen to the audio, you have to find the answers, and you have to write it down as well. Simultaneously, everything happens at once. So a lot of times you can't really listen, or you can't really channel or concentrate on the audio. But the best thing that you can do is, while practicing, do not practice it on a computer without a headphone. Try purchasing an earphone. Most I would suggest you to buy wired earphones, because that's what you will get. Or even if you can buy a headphone, that is even better, because it will simulate the actual exam setting. And when you will practice like this, it will help you cancel out the extra information. It will help you cancel out the like extra noise, and you will also like be habitual of using earphones and headphones. And what else? Try using a lot of when you are practicing, try listening to a lot of accents, because that is something that will be included in the listening section. So make yourself familiar with the British accent, make yourself familiar with the American accent, know what is Canadian accent. So if you know a lot of accents, it will again help you determine everything better. Okay, Abul has a question. The session is going to be probably 40 to 45 minutes. And okay, I hope that answers your question. ठीक है. Now coming to, and some people suggest you to watch videos. I would not really suggest you to do that. Instead, listen to podcasts, because in the listening section you will not really have any audio, sorry, any video played to you. You will only be able to listen to the audio. So it's better that you make yourself habitual of different kinds of audios. That is one thing that you can do. Now, coming to the next thing that is going to be better, what if you practice, the next is predictive listening. Predictive listening is basically when you listen and when you have the questions in mind, you predict the answers, and this can only be possible if there is any factual answer. For example, if the question is, I live on dash street, so you know it's either going to be the name of the street, or it's going to be the place of the street, so you can predict for such answers. Or my phone number is dish. Sometimes they will not say phone number, they say digits. So digits is basically another way of saying phone number. Sometimes they don't say zero, they say o. So o in a particular dialect or in a particular I think in a particular language is zero. So you should know all of these things. In certain languages they do not pronounce z, they say z. So you should know what is the meaning of z. So these are certain things that you should already be familiar with when you're going for the listening section. And predictive listening can only happen when you have read the questions in advance to listening the audio, and also when you have marked certain answers, because some answers you cannot really predict because they come as a knee jerk. But some answers, after you read the question, you will know that maybe it's a scientific term, or maybe it's a place, maybe it's a year. So if you will know these answers, you'll become more vigilant, and you will be able to predict the answer beforehand. Now the next one is listening for keywords. See, keywords are those phrases that will be there in the audio and most often will be in the question as well. These are some factual data that cannot be changed. Now, although there are some kinds of like there is a lot of paraphrasing in the question, but if you look closely at the questions, you will know. And when you hear the audio, since the paraphrasing is there, but they use a lot of synonyms, so you will be able to get an idea. So that's the reason why it is said, when you get the time, make yourself familiar with the questions. Do not wait for the audio to tell you to the same, because you know the pattern. You have to read the question and then the audio begins. So these are certain things that you have to keep in mind. The next one is, be mindful of spelling and grammar. You may have written the correct answer, but you lag in terms of the spelling. So they will not really consider the idea or ideation behind the answer. They will see if you follow the right spelling. So make sure you proofread once you've given your answers. Do not submit the answers before proofreading, because chances are pretty plausible that in one or so questions you might have made some punctuation or some grammatical or some spelling mistakes. So just check for it. If there is anything that you have written as an incorrect answer, you will still have time to change it. Now, there's one thing more. I want you to be aware of this fact that there is no negative marking in the IELTS. Like throughout the test, there is no negative marking. So if at all you missed out on one answer, do not get hopeless, because in the listening section, the score is such, like if you get 40 out of 40, you'll still get a 9 band score. But if you even get a 39, still you will land on the 9 band score itself. So if you miss out on one answer, do not panic, move to the next one, try to realign yourself to the questions, because there is no negative marking. Okay, I hope this has made sense to you. If you have any questions so far, please do ask. I think all of it. Okay. I think it's all clear, right? So we can definitely move ahead. Okay, let's move ahead. Now, coming to certain things, I already told you that you will not have any control over the audio, but there's a catch. You will also not be able to listen to the audio more than once. So the audio will only be played once, and you will not have the option of asking to be played or asking the audio to be played another time. So the first chance is your last chance. So you should be able to read the questions beforehand, and before going to test, it's actually very important for you to sit for a mock test, because when you will sit for a mock test, you will know exactly what is going to be the pace of the audio, so that it does not come as a shocker on the day of the examination. The next thing is multitasking. You know that you will have to listen to the audio, you will have to read for the questions, and you will also have to write down the answer at the same time. All should happen at the same time. Do not wait for the audio to complete and finish, because by the time the audio is going to get completed, you will not have any iota of idea what did you listen to. So before the audio begins, read the questions. If there is any keyword that you could find, try marking it if you're going for pen and paper, and if you're going for computer based, try highlighting those keywords. And as soon as you get the answer, don't wait for the audio to move ahead. You can just write down the answer. Yes, if there is any change in the intonation and the answer has changed, do not get confused. Please change the answers accordingly. And that's about it. And also, you should be writing the actual answer, like when you are not it's not the final answer that you've written, then you should use a pencil, and when you're like finaling it out, you can use a pen. Now the next is try making educated guess. Educated guess is basically since you already know that there is no negative marking in the IELTS, not in the reading section, not even in the listening section. So if there is a particular question that you could not really understand well, try to get an idea and try to make your own guess, because again, it's just because there is no negative marking, you can definitely take your chance with it. So all right, the next is, yes, a lot of people, they have this question, can I use everything in capital, like can I write the answers in capitals? Yes, you can definitely do that. You can write every answer in capital. But the thing is, if you are following the capital letters, then you should follow it throughout. Don't write the first section in capital, the next one in like lowercase, because then it will not be, it breaks the flow. So if you are writing everything in caps, write everything in caps. And if you are not writing everything, like if you want to include it, like the first word is in cap and everything else is in the lowercase, you can definitely do that. However, it is recommended to use caps, like the uppercase, while writing the answers. Okay, so now the next is read the word limit. Yes, this is one of the most imperative things that you have to do. You have to read the word limit, because at times the instruction in itself will explicitly tell you that you cannot write more than 3 words. So if you write less than 3 words, it's fine. But the moment you surpass the 3 words, it's going to be marked as an incorrect answer, even though if you had the correct answer and you just included one more word. No, make sure that the instructions are followed. If the instruction says do not write more than 3 letters and or a word, that means that, sorry, if the instruction says do not write more than 3 words and or a letter, that means that 3 words and one letter is accepted, or like 3 words or one letter is accepted. So try understanding the instructions carefully before you write down the answer. Now, coming to the next one, how words and numbers are calculated. See, if you put a hyphen between two words and these are actually universally accepted two words, then these two words will become one number. So the man-made, because it has a hyphen in between, becomes one word. Similar is the case with words like tic-tac. Again, if there is a hyphen that you put in the middle, it becomes one word. So the next is any year or any date. Let's say if it's a phone number, it again will become one word because one number or one word, because again you're not adding any extra information. So look out for these things. If it is date of birth, so if the question asks you to write the date of birth, so if you're writing the month, year and date, it again will become just one word. So these are certain things. Now coming to the next question, should you use articles or prepositions? Well, there is no definite answer to this one. It will differ from question to question. You will have to see which one sits well. So if here it is, there are two questions like the best place to meet is dash, and note completion may, if you have a question, place. So of course in place you will just write school, and in the sentence completion the best place to meet is at the school. So see if there is any if the answers are sitting grammatically, and also see the word limit. If the word limit does not permit you to use one sorry, if the word limit does not permit you to use more than one word, of course you can't really do, and that's the reason why in place you will write school. If you see that the question is incomplete with one word, that means that you will have to write the entire answer. But at max, you can only write three words and not more than that, right? Now, coming to the fact that a lot of times students do not really follow the instructions, especially in the multiple choice questions. See, if the question is telling you directly to write the letters, it again, everything will depend on the instruction. Let's say here in the first question on the 14th point, it says choose the correct option from A to C. So if the answer is A, you will not write red, you will just write option A. If the answer is option B, green, you will not write green, instead you will write B. Because in the instruction, it has clearly been told to you that you have to just write the option from A to C. Now, coming to the next one, um, if the instruction says again, the choose the correct option. So instead of writing, if it says you have to choose the option, you just have to write the options. If they say write the correct answer, you can write green, blue, yellow, whatever is the correct answer. Again, all of this will depend on the instruction. Do not write the answers from your own terms. Like if you know that the answer is green, but the option has clearly said in the instructions that write down the correct option, it has to be B if B resonates with green. Okay. The next is look out for plural. In the question itself, at times they will tell you that you have to write one word or two words, or in the question itself, they will say choose one answer or choose correct answers. That means it can either be one answer or they can be two options that are correct. Like, for example, in multiple choice questions, where there are six options, you have to correct two out of six. So, make sure you have made it very clear in your mind that whether you have to answer, you will have to mark the answers for singular answers, or it requires for you to mark plural answers. Okay. The next one is paraphrasing and synonyms. Similar to the reading section, similar to the writing section, it is very prominent in this in the listening section as well, that there will be a lot of paraphrasing and synonyms used. So the questions will not be an exact replica of the audio. There will be some paraphrasing, and not some, there will be a lot of paraphrasing, and most of the answers will be paraphrased. But these paraphrasing will not be so difficult and incoherent for you. You will be able to get the answer because they're very much same or like. For example, if the question is teenagers do this, in the answer in the audio, it would be youngsters nowadays are indulging themselves into this. So basically, there's not a lot of difference. It's just that you have to understand while you listen, right? Now, coming to the next one, a lot of students again this have this question that should I be able to understand everything that is there in the audio? The clear and plain answer is no, you don't really have to answer everything. You just have to limit yourself to the 10 sets of question for each section. Read the question and mark, like key mark or mark the keywords, and just be focused and just put all of your focus and attention towards these questions. Other than that, any information that you have is an extra information for you. This is all extra information that do not like it, if it does not relate to the question, all of that is extra and redundant information. So even if you forget everything, or if you can't really understand that, it's completely fine. Now, all right, coming to some of the techniques that you can use. Just a second. Okay. Okay. Now, these are some techniques that you can. I hope till now it's all clear. If you have any doubts, please feel free to ask them. Anything that you did not understand. Okay. I think everything is clear, right? If you have any doubts and if you hesitate to ask, you can always write it in the chat box and I will try to give you the answer. But if there is something that you have not really comprehended, you can always ask me. Okay. We have a question. Yes, okay, definitely. I will explain slowly. Coming to the next one. Okay, these are some strategies or these are some techniques you should keep in mind while preparing for your test. The first thing is simulate exam conditions. This means that do not practice from materials that are not credible. You should be practicing only from the official website's material or some authentic materials, because if you do not know what is the structure of the test, you will not be able to get the answer for a lot of questions. So that's the reason why you should copy the exam conditions. And ideally, I would suggest you, before you're booking the exam date, what you can do is sit for an entire mock, see if you're getting the band scores of your choice. If not, that means you need more time. So you can just book the date after 10 to 15 days so that you get some time to practice. If you are getting the band score of your choice in the mock test, or even a band score less, you are still prepared, you can still book the date. If otherwise you go and just straight away book the date without any preparation, chances are pretty high that you will not get the desired band scores and you will again have to sit for the exam again. So it's better that when you are ready, give one or two mock tests, see if you're getting the band scores of your choice. And once you're very certain, you can definitely go ahead and book the date. Now, the next one is reviewing mistakes. See, there can be many kinds of mistakes that the test taker make. The first could be spelling mistake. The next one could be grammatical mistake. The next could be, incomplete answers. So that's the reason once you're done with each part, just give it a thorough look, or just look for the answers at a glance, so that if there is any silly mistakes you have made, you can always rectify it. The next is build vocabulary. You can always expand on your vocabularies by listening, again, not watching movies. Watching movies actually don't help you that much because your brain is constantly visualizing the picture. You can see the movies in motion, and even when you see the movies in motion, you can understand what is going on. So you're not really doing too much to understand anything. That's the reason I tell you, instead of watching movies, listen for podcast. You can listen for any podcast. You can search for any podcast on Spotify. Even on YouTube, you can just search American accent podcast, or you can say people conversing with each other in British accent, people talking about IELTS in Australian accent. So when you will be exposed to all these kinds of accents, it will be easier for you to grasp what the audio says in the official day of the test. Now, the next is listening for specific information. Again, you will have a lot of information in the listening section, but you don't really have to consider, or you don't really have to care about listening everything and retaining everything, because You are just limited to those 10 sets of questions for each part. And apart from that, any information which is given out to you is extra information. You don't need it. So just limit yourself to the 10 sets of questions for each part. And then when you know what are the questions, you will be able to predict the answer while listening to the audio. Just search for these information. Now, coming to the next one, use practice materials. See, better you practice from the official materials that you can find on IDP's website, or search for authentic IELTS preparing materials. And especially in the listening section, try to make yourself familiar with the listening map-based questions, because that are some questions that students find a little difficult to answer. And apart from the map-based, students also find they have some difficulty in the matching type of questions. So these are two questions where you should pay specific attention, because they could become difficult for you to understand. So these are certain things that you can do. If you have any questions or any doubts so far, please do ask me. If everything is clear, again we can move past it. Is everything clear? Okay, I assume everything is clear. So let's move past. Now, when the exam starts, these are certain things that you can do. The first is listening for signal words. Signal words are basically these words that change the trajectory of your answers. For example, if you are listening to an audio which says, "We were supposed to go on the trip on the 25th. However, due to certain misforeseen situations, now we are going on the 28th." That means the answer, if you have a question on which day are they planning to go on the trip now, it is 28th and not 26th. So look for words like however, although, in addition, or, but, and. That means that if you have these connectors in your answers, most likely the answer is going to change. The next is familiarize yourself with paraphrasing. See, if you are not prepared to this fact that the listening section will consist of paraphrasing, on the day of the examination, it will become difficult for you to actually pinpoint the answer. So while preparing, make up your mind that there will be a tons of paraphrasing used, and you just have to develop the skills to catch where the answer has been paraphrased. Also, you should be able to find out synonyms, and you should be able to see what are the rephrased sentences, so that it will help you in overall comprehension. It will help you in understanding the context really better. Now, coming to focus on stress and intonation, see, sometimes you will get the answer in a very swift way. As soon as you start listening, you will get the answer. But most often, there will be an interjection from somebody, and the answer is going to change. So please make sure that you are putting a lot of focus to the stress. You know that the tone that they have used is actually the final tone, or is there any scope of change in the answer? So these are certain things that you can definitely like you should be careful about. Now coming to the next one, avoid distractions. While preparing, if you are surrounded by a million children in your house, it will be difficult for you to stay focused. So that's the reason what I'm telling you is buy a wired earphone, or if you can buy a headphone, nothing better than that, and practice from the official material, so that you are habitual of using headphones. You are habitual of sitting in an environment where you are trying to give the answers. Because if you don't give the mock, when you will go for the official exam, and you will have to sit for the entire 2 hours, it's going to become a herculean of a task for you all, because you're going to get so exhausted by the time the exam gets over. So that's the reason, at least practice one or two mocks before you fill the final or you select the date for your final examination. I hope till now everything is clear. If you have any questions or any doubts so far, please do ask me. Any questions or any doubts? Is it all clear? Okay. There's no response for doubts also. There is no response if you're clear also. I'm going to take the positive side. I think everything is clear. So we
Yes,
can definitely move. Okay, thank you. Let's move past this one. Okay. Now, a lot of students will ask, how can I actually improve my listening skills? The best thing is you should engage in conversations, but not in your vernacular language. Engage in conversations that have English as the prominent and the only medium of instructions. You can speak with your friends, you can speak with us, or you can be more active in class during live and ask a lot of questions. See, what this will do is it will do away with your hesitation, and it will help you in the speaking section. The next is when I will give you some information, or when I will include my 2 cents to you, you will actually try to pay attention, because you will know that I will be on the spotlight and I will have to give the answer. So that's the reason why engaging in conversations important. The next is watch English movies and TV shows. Okay, I would suggest, instead of watching, what you can do is buy any novel and go for the audio version of it. And when you are reading the novel, just turn on the audio. And basically, in the audio version, what happens is the entire novel is read out to you. So this will help you in reading and listening at the same time. The next you can do is listen to English songs. Yes, it actually really helps you in improving your um, listening skills, because when you listen to an English songs and if you understand the enunciation and the lyrics, you will be able to retain the song better, and it will help you to get exposed to a different kind of accent altogether. The next is join English language groups. It is important because unless and until you are confident enough to speak to an examiner, you are not really prepared for the IELTS exam. Because if you are someone who's shy, feels that I cannot really speak in English, you will be doomed. Because in the speaking section, you have to communicate sometimes for 2 minutes, sometimes for 1 minute with the examiner. So get this hesitation off of your chest and start speaking in the class. Also, if you want, you can join some English speaking classes where everybody is forced to speak. This will help you with getting rid of your hesitation, and it will also help you to prepare for IELTS better. The next is use language learning apps. See, in today's world, I do not really have to specify what kinds of apps that you can use, but you have free access to a lot of materials. So you can use the AI apps to like talk to you, or you can talk to them, you can give them some suggestions, you can ask for certain things, and they will help you. And in this way, you will feel that you're actually talking to someone in English, and it will help you in your listening sections as well as in the speaking section. Now, I hope there is no questions or doubts so far. Let's move to the next one. Okay. Now coming to some examples of how do they change the answer. The first is when you recognize the signal words, you know that the answer is going to change. For example, in a conversation, if somebody says, I agree with your point, however, we need to consider other factors. Now, the signal word, however, indicates that the speaker is not really in sync with what the other person is saying. Out of respect, the speaker is saying, yes, I do agree with your point. However, he has or she has their own point. So if the question says the speaker completely agreed with the other speaker, the answer is no, because there's this signal word, however. The next is mastering paraphrasing. See, paraphrasing is going to be there throughout your IELTS test. So instead of running away from it, better you start preparing and you accept the fact that there will be some paraphrasing used. So, for example, in the original context, the speaker says the conference will commence at 9 a.m. If you don't really know the meaning of commence, it means that to begin, to like start something. So if the question says the meeting is scheduled to start 9 a.m. in the morning, it's one or the same thing. So you should know what is paraphrasing. You should know what is the synonym for conference, what is the synonym of commence, so that again, if in the audio you get these kinds of words, you are not blown to shreds. You know what is the meaning of these sentences or words. Now, the next is using or utilizing context cues. Context cues are these words that are going to stay in the question and in the audio as well. For example, if there is a dialogue discussion and if somebody mentions, I left my umbrella at the cafe, most like in normal scenarios it will not really change, and your keyword or the context clue here is cafe, because they will not use restaurant for cafe, because cafe and restaurants are two different things. So cafe here becomes your context clues, and you will know that something related to the cafe or something in the cafe is going to transpire in the question. So these are certain things that you have to keep in mind. And apart from that, what else? Okay. Focus on intonation and stress. If you and I are talking and you don't really use any intonation, like your voice is not going high, it's not coming down, it's very monotone, it will be difficult for you to determine what exactly am I trying to say. But luckily in the listening section there will be a lot of intonation and stress. Intonation, when they start the audio, it will start as a high pitch audio. Towards the end, when they are about to complete the sentence, it will mellow down and come to a lower stance. So you should be able to see if through the intonation the answer feels like the final answer, that means that the answer will not probably change. But if you see that there is some slight confusion in the audio does not really seem very confident, the chances are again high that the answer might change. The next is minimize distraction. While preparing, do not ask your friends to sit with you, rather prepare on your own. Unless you both are going for the IELTS test, then you can use that friend as your help and plus one. But otherwise, just sit in a room where there's not a lot of distraction and prepare on your own. And while preparing on your own, make sure the information or the source from where you're preparing is authentic, because in the listening section there will be a pattern that needs to be followed. If you're not really aware of the pattern, then on the day of the examination it's going to come as a shocker for you, right? The next is engage in conversations. It will not only help you in the listening section, it will actually help you holistically, because when you will engage in a conversation with the person in English, you will learn something from them, provided the person actually has some knowledge of English. If you communicate in English with somebody who does not have any idea of English, you will be at the upper edge, but this will not really help you. So practice with somebody who has some proficiency of English. Now, you can watch a lot of movies, but while watching the movies, try to watch movies that have a different source of dialect, right? Just yes. Sheikh, are you asking some question? Yasmin, I believe. Are you asking some question?
أشمل
I can't hear you.
Easy.
Okay, I think the it happened by mistake, so we can definitely proceed. So these are certain things that you can use. One last thing that I can definitely tell you, you will have a map in the listening section, and most, I think 90% of the times you will have a map in the listening section. And a lot of people, they find maps particularly difficult. That is because you don't really observe the map beforehand. You don't write the directions beforehand. You don't really see the places that are already given, and that's why you struggle. Look out for spatial directions, look out for the conventional direction like north, south, east, west, but you should also know what is adjacent, what is next to, what is opposite, what is in front of, what is again opposite of, what is the far end, what is I hope that you know what I'm trying to say. Spatial distance is very different from your direction, and both needs to be used in culmination for the map. Also, look out for the words like the map begins from here. It will help you to like to map out the trajectory of the answers. So these are certain things that you can use. And coming to the next one, again, listen to the English songs. Again, it will help you with a rough understanding of how they pronounce words, and join some language groups. If you are a novice, you don't know how to use English well, join some groups. It will help you boost your confidence. And then again, I told you about some language learning apps that you can use. And if you don't want to do all of this hassle, you can even join our classes. We also have batch classes where we have 2 to 3 students and they help each other in conversing. And this will actually, since we prepare on the IELTS materials and we prepare you for the IELTS exclusively, you will not really have to do any extra work. So you can do this as well. And these are some exam day strategies that we are going to discuss very swiftly before ending the session. The first is read the instructions carefully in the listening section, because at times the listening section will tell you do not use more than one word. That means if you use 2 words, the answer is going to be incorrect, even if it consists of the correct answer as well as the wrong answer. The next is preview questions before the audio begins. Make sure you are familiar with the question so that you have a rough idea of what to listen for. The next is stay calm. Even in times when you have not, when you could not really find out the answer of one particular question, it's fine. That's not the end of the day. That's not the end of the world. You can still align yourself back and answer and get exactly the same band score. The next is manage your time. If you are not writing the answers as soon as you get them and you think, okay, fine, I'm going to write 2 answers together, you will not be able to remember what was the answer. So as soon as you get the answer, write it on a sheet of paper, or you can write it on your computer as well. And in times when you are completely oblivious, yes, Yasmin, please. Is there someone who wants to ask a question? Daro mat, you can ask me the question. Anything that you want to ask. Okay. All right. So I think there's no question. It happened by mistake. So there's one more thing that I wanted to tell you. See, if at all you missed out on one answer, it's fine. You can always either make an educated guess or you can just skip the question. However, the latter is something that I do not suggest to students. Again, remember, there is no negative marking. So even if you write an incorrect answer, it's going to be fine. So make sure that you practice these strategies, and also while practicing you are practicing from the correct material, and also before you go for the examination, where before you write the examination. Okay, Yasmin has a question. How much time is given in the total exam? Okay, the listening, so the total duration of the IELTS is 2 hours and 45 minutes. 1 hour for your writing section, 1 hour for your reading section, 30 minutes for your speaking, and roughly 17 minutes, sorry, 30 minutes for your listening, and roughly 17 minutes for the speaking section. This is the whole duration of the IELTS test, where writing, reading, and listening happens on the same day, but you can definitely get some leverage for the speaking section. Yes, no worries, Yasmin. Any other questions that anybody has? Anything that you did not understand or would want me to rectify? Okay, if everything is clear, then we can end this session. Every day from Monday to Friday, we have the sessions going on. So you can join these sessions. You can either like register yourself, or you can even register and we will add you to our WhatsApp group. And apart from that, if you want to take demos from us, demos are completely free of cost. You can definitely suggest the topic that you would want to get a demo on, and we will reach out to you. Apart from that, if you have any questions, you can ask. If not, we can definitely call it a day. I think everything is pretty clear. Um, I assume it's all clear. So if everything is clear, then we can definitely call it a day. And I will see you again tomorrow at the same time. So take care, everyone. I hope things were pretty easy now. And start practicing. And if you have any particular doubts, you can ask me in the next live. ठीक है. All right then. Everybody have a good day. Bye bye. You're welcome, Hashmat. Same to you, Yasmin. It's really nice to meet you, although I couldn't really see you. All right. Bye bye. Bye, everyone.